Today, I'll show you a trade that quite a few of my students took, but for me, it was a no trade. We'll just take a look at how I came to that decision, because it's important to understand the overall context of the market, right? It's really quite necessary, especially nowadays, which you could say is quite turbulent and unpredictable, and I'm very cautious as a result. Here, the old saying, measure twice, cut once, really applies. That means, late over the past month or two, I've been especially careful and deliberate when it comes to trading itself, making sure to double check every step. There was something I liked, something that just didn't click for me. My limit order didn't get filled, but honestly, I didn't even think about it. Or rather, I saw it on the chart, but I decided there was a reason not to go into it. And that's something I'd like to share with you. Or more precisely, my perspective on the market. Because if we carefully examine and consider the rules that govern the exchange break and retest pattern, then yes, this situation does indeed fit those criteria, right? That means when we look at it specifically from the perspective of the Hone time frame, it's perfectly fine and aligns with what we would expect to see. I can't say a word against it, but for us to be successful traders, we have to consider the overall context of the market, right? I want to show you my thinking, or rather my thought process show. I came to the conclusion that I didn't even want to enter here, that I didn't get stopped out here, that I didn't place the trade at all. So what do we need in order to trade? What we have in the strategy is clear. We simply have a clear zone here. The zone is also nice in that it's like a bow that's been drawn and then released by this candle. This setup is basically textbook. Like if I wanted to explain it to someone, this would be perfect, From this part onward, it's just really nice, The market is breathing. It's not crawling along that line, along that zone. There's just enough space here. So it really means the market is breathing and the zone is reacting absolutely beautifully. All of this is perfectly fine. I also really like this impulsive breakout with that single candle. That's it. It's really quite nice. The setup is actually pretty good at this moment, but there's one thing that comes before it. First of all, the structure of the trend is downward, That means here we dropped quite impulsively. Now we've been moving around here in some kind of corrective phase, a corrective structure. And it's usually the case that when I have an impulsive breakout and then it goes into a pure sideways move and not slanted up or down, Here it's not slanted. Here it's just a pure sideways move, straight to the side. So it usually breaks out this way, That's the first thing you can observe here, even without leaving this time frame. So going long here doesn't really appeal to me at all, especially when I see what came before. And actually, if I had to define what trend I have, it's basically a downtrend. It's going down, it's going down. Here we have an impulsive move, a corrective move, and then there should be another impulsive move. And usually the impulsive move tends to be in the same direction as the previous impulsive move. So here I'd want to trade to the downside, but here I have a break to the upside. I understand. So when I have information like this, kind of mixed, you could say, let's take a look at the higher time frame. That means let's look at the daily. And what I see on the daily, at least what I see here, is that I have a clear zone up here. Here, the price simply came up from below and made a swing here. The price bounced off and went beautifully, really beautifully, downwards. The price got stuck here again, stalled, did something weird here, tried a double bottom, but that failed. It did something kind of strange, just weirdness. I understand. Nevertheless, from that point, if I were to draw a trend here, it's a clear uptrend. And again, no matter where I look at it from, I know that I would want to trade it long. Up to here, not further. Yeah, this is the zone where no matter where I would go along the way, I'd go long up to here. From here, I'd be planning more for a short than a long, That means at this point, even the long wouldn't make sense anymore, since I actually have the first one. Or I'll mark it here for you. The first bounce, right here. The price pulled back and then returned to the same level again, back to that same zone. It pulled back down again, and at this point, I would want to trade in the long direction. when I see a candle like this here, well, then I'd rather want to speculate on a bounce. That means I'd rather go short than long, right? So this means that even though I have the daily time frame behind me, my outlook is actually the opposite. As long as it doesn't break through that zone, I'm more likely to expect it to react to the zone in some way and rather bounce off it. That means here I'd want to trade that move. I'd want to trade it to the short side from the daily perspective, right? So when I look here at the H4 chart, what I notice is quite interesting. I can see something like a shoulder forming right here. And then there is a head in the middle. The swing that follows is noticeably higher than before. And then once again, over here, another shoulder is starting to form, which completes the pattern I am observing. And here is the break of that line. Here is that impulsive break. And when the price is already here, I'm not going to place a pending order here for it to go back in this direction. I would want to trade as if this is the second shoulder, which means more likely going short, for one thing. Or simply to take advantage of the full potential of the H4, to have that RHA and only trade it once it breaks out completely, once it does a lazy pullback here, and then makes this move in this direction, So this setup, I see it as more of a short opportunity, meaning I would be more interested in short trades than long ones. And when I move to the 1 hour time frame with this perspective that it's a bounce off some resistance, a daily resistance, an important resistance, I don't really feel like speculating here, thinking that the price would pick me up and go in this direction. It's just hard for me to push against the main trend, Whenever I notice that most people are going along with something, I feel a lot of pressure to do the same, even if I want to make a different choice. It can be really tough to go against what everyone else is doing. I understand that on the 1 hour chart, from a certain point, it actually looks pretty good. The corrective structure is just nice. It's regular and it's been broken impulsively. That's all nice. But if at least it had come from below, then I'd be trading upwards here. But I don't want it to come from above and me going back up again. And on top of that, knowing that I'm getting to that daily resistance. Simply put, I just don't feel like it. And now, on top of that, when I see here in this last phase that I have some kind of high here, and now it's systematically trending, like a nice trend, like a clean one. Yeah, it's a really clean downtrend. So I really don't feel like jumping into a long position here. If it had simply dropped, like literally dropped, I don't know. It's possible that there are those things I do subconsciously. It's possible, yeah, but I just really didn't want to trade long here at all. Of course, I noticed in that situation that it was taken down quite impulsively, but I immediately saw it as the top. Maybe it's because I already have that daily perspective in my head, that I'm actually expecting. I have it in my mind that I'm more likely expecting a short. So maybe that's why I traded here. I don't know. I'm just showing you what was or is going through my head. Why didn't I get stopped out here? Yeah, because even though I understand it rationally, here you just put the stop and it doesn't matter whether you put it behind that candle or behind the whole swing. I would have just gotten stopped out. So that's just why I didn't take this trade, okay? I liked another one, for example. I liked this one on SDYPJ. No, it wasn't on JPI. It was on Euro JPI, where the structure was kind of falling. Well, it actually started off quite nicely here. You can see it too, right? That here we went from the top down, here it formed some kind of double bottom, and the price really did reverse and we went upwards. I understand. Here it made a weird, kind of strange RHR, again, a trend reversal. The price was pushed down impulsively. There was a retest of the neckline here, and it was traded downwards, right? Sure, here, when I see what happened here, I can see some kind of shoulder, I see some kind of head, I see some kind of shoulder here. And if I look at it, like there was a neckline here for that double bottom. Then at the supervisory price level, the price stopped and reacted here in some way. Yeah, here it did the next thing. That means I liked having a pending order here, and it worked well for me. Here, going long, yeah, that would appeal to me because it all makes sense to me. I'm going with the trend. I'm moving in the direction of the trend. When I see an RHR here, we know it will make this one-to-one move. That means it could reach these heights here. So there's plenty of room here for that trade. It just didn't pick me up here. Well, it didn't pick me up. It would have been a different trade. But here, it all made sense to me. Basically, as the trend goes, I'm following the market in some way. I'm paying attention to the things that are here. With GBP USD, I also notice other things, and I have to take a look there. The hone forced me to look at a higher time frame, where I determined that it wasn't good to enter there. So that's just what I was looking for here last week, and it was hard for me to explain why GBP USD was actually bad when on the hourly chart it looked really cool. Yeah, here it looked pretty nice. And yet, even so, it wasn't a good trade. So that's just an observation that sometimes you do something, sometimes you don't. Sometimes I get questions like, but that was a clear strategy. Why didn't you take it? Well, for example, for this very reason. So for me, the overall market context is really important. That means even from the higher time frame, whether the lower time frame makes sense to me in the right direction, and so on. And I try to evaluate all of that. Does a trade come out of it? No.